It can be a real whirl, obviously, from the start line of the swim, maybe a couple of laps, and then straight into T1. And it can be really easy to get a bit overcomplicated coming into the first transition. And there is a fair bit to do. Would you be able to talk about just some of your tips on how to have a good transition coming out of the water and then getting organised to come onto the mountain bike?
I'm a big believer in just keeping it simple. Less is more. If you're in transition and you've got to put your bike shoes on, put your mountain bike gloves on, take your wetsuit off, and there is so much to process in a short period of time because it is a bit of a pressure cooker. You've got other athletes around bumping you, and it can be quite daunting. And once you try to rush it, that's more than likely when you start to make mistakes. So less is more. I just try to keep it very simple, even tie my nutrition onto my bike. I have my gloves on my handlebars. All I have to do is literally take my wetsuit off. My shoes are clipped onto my bike. So yeah, take my wetsuit off, put my helmet on, and then I'm on my way to go. So I just try to keep it simple. Obviously practice it, I think, is the best way to nail it come race day. And the other big thing would be just slow down and find a good flow because, like I said, if you try to rush it, that's more than likely when you start to make mistakes and then you forget things or you drop things and so forth. So it's just a matter of slowing down because you're slowing down, you're thinking about what you need, take your wetsuit off, take your goggles cap off, put your wetsuit in a good place where you're not going to trip over it and you're not going to get a penalty from the referee, and put your helmet on, make sure your glasses are on. If you need to, put your shoes on, put your gloves on, all that kind of thing, and then bike off the rack and away you go sort of thing. So you do that. It sounds easier than what we're talking about, but if you do it slowly and efficiently, that's almost fast because if you start to panic and sort of get caught up in it, you'll forget something or you'll drop something and it tends to not work in your favor. So just be relaxed and keep it simple. Less is more and slow is fast.
Awesome stuff. Thank you so much, Ben. Feeling a little bit faster than the 2 hours I'd normally take in T1 already. Jackie, any points that you'd like to add for T1?
Yeah, just one thing to add to that is arrive nice and early, as we've talked about. So you get a good spot and you can just take your time setting up your transition, setting up the bike and your run shoes. And if you have forgotten anything, you've got a little bit of time to play with. But also, I always like to have, before I go and put my wetsuit on and I'm ready for the start, maybe half an hour before or just before transition closes, I like to go back and just have a quick look at the transition again, because it does change a lot from when you first go in. It certainly becomes more crowded. There might be an extra bike squeezed in that wasn't there before, and it could have knocked something off your bike or just pushed you over a little bit. So I always like to go back, have a quick look that everything's still there as I knew it was, and just have a little run through as well. So know where the swim comes in, know which rack your bike's on, and know where you're going to run out with your bike, and also where you're going to come back in with your bike and then run out onto the run. So just have a little run through. It's a good warm up as well if you just have a little jog through the transition, just to make sure that everything's in the place where you thought you left it.